Do you need an attorney for an uncontested divorce with minimal assets in Oklahoma, or can you just fill out some forms? The answer is, unfortunately, it's generally not that simple. So first off, you're not required to have an attorney. You have the right to represent yourself. But just because you have the right doesn't necessarily mean that you have the ability to represent yourself. These things can be complicated and things can change quickly. And if you don't know the right way to navigate when issues come up in a case, it could be to your detriment. So you do have to be careful about that. But the fact is, there's not a lot of assets to fight over, is one indication that it may not be that complicated, and the second, that it is uncontested. The parties are in agreement. That means it may not be that complicated. But get to the second part of your question. Or can you just fill out the paperwork and file it? There's no set paperwork, unfortunately. You can go down to the courthouse and they're not going to have divorce paperwork where you check some boxes. Some states have paperwork like that. I know California does. In Oklahoma, that's not the case. So you are, if you're representing yourself, responsible for drafting the paperwork. Usually draft that up from scratch. You got to make sure it complies with statutes as well as local rules, and it's specific to your circumstances. Your case could be completely different than someone else's case, and you may not know what those differences and how it affects things, but it's got to be done right or you could run into some problems. So it may not be practical to do it on your own, but there are some other options. You don't have to have an attorney. You could use a drafting service. If it's uncontested in Tulsa County with not a lot of assets, it may be appropriate to use a drafting service, have them draft the paperwork, and then you can represent yourself in court and oftentimes not have too much problems getting it done. The other option, obviously, is that you can hire an attorney. The third option, if you want to do it on your own, there's not set paperwork. What you can do is that you can look at other court cases. In Oklahoma, we've got oscn.net. You can look up the prior filings, see what attorneys have drafted and filed, look at those as an example, and then try to apply those to your circumstances if you want to handle it all on your own. If you run into any problems, though, or you want to address it with an attorney, which I highly recommend that you do to see if there's any weird, unusual things that could cause problems in your case, talk to an attorney privately and confidentially.